In this week's Stolen Time, my friend Lauren is visiting for my birthday, which is tomorrow, and she's an experienced mother of 2 older children. Mm-hmm. And Lauren and I used to have a podcast for years and years. It was amazing. I'll put a link to it in the episode. It was called Pillow Talk. It's still available if you would like to listen to all our insights.
Really?
Of course. Yes, it's there on iTunes. No one has touched it. It's there.
Oh my
Also,
gosh.
I'll put a link for you too. And what came up is the idea of crying and its benefits. And, you know, in the world of don't cry, we don't want it when you cry, be a big person, be a big boy, be a big girl, be a big person. So I'm super encouraging of crying with the baby and with the toddler. And is 3 still toddler?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think it's like just on the cusp.
Okay.
And then they become a preschooler.
Okay, perfect. And so Lauren has something fascinating which I wanted her to share, and then leads into a whole discussion on tears and tantrums and whatnot. But co-counseling, which is something that Lauren has been practicing for years and years, and please do share.
All right. So I was introduced to a form of, I guess, self-help called co-counseling, and it is just what it sounds like. So you take turns counseling each other. So, for example, we might set the timer for 5 minutes, and I would be the one to have feelings, and you would listen to me, and really only just listen. You're not looking to give advice. You're not even really looking to be like, oh, that happened to me as well.
Not even empathize.
Yeah, you want to show that you care, but you're not. What you're not trying to do is wash the feelings away. You're not trying to make them stop crying. What you want to do is facilitate the other person to cry, to laugh, to, as they call it, discharge, which is kind of a funny word for it.
It's pretty good. It makes me think of an eye, but yes.
Right, or think about a battery, right? So it's discharging this charge, right? When you feel charged up and you have emotions. So
that's very cool. So do you do it with kids?
So, right. So the whole point with co-counseling in children is when they are charged up, they need to release those emotions. And when they start crying or having a tantrum, I think in our society, we're trained to want to shush, 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 stop, stop. Pacifier. And it might stop the crying, but it's not getting rid of the feelings. And so they're still going to be tight, and they're still going to act out. And you're going to be like, what's wrong with this kid?
It's just getting delayed for another time.
And, it's internalized. And so letting them cry is actually the best thing you can do.
And I came across, I too came upon that wisdom, but through an avenue of my own, which was just, reading about, holding babies.
It was
Aletha Salter, I believe is her name. I'll put links. Yes, you should.
Look below.
Have you done this before?
No.
And it's all about holding the baby while they cry.
Right, you stay with them.
You stay with them. You don't leave them alone. Okay, so this is not really sleep training, which is, I kind of live in 2 bubbles where it's sleep train, and that was, cry. Right. And life in between that, which is hold. So try not to pacify, which she calls it a control pattern, that children develop control patterns, which is thumb sucking, pacifier, all of that is ways of stifling your own emotions. Food, and it's very difficult, actually, from what I read, to control that, to not have a control pattern.
Sure.
But still, what you want to do is encourage, and be supportive of it. And so I do that with the baby, and I did it with the other one too. Yes. And I have to say, I've noticed amazing changes. When I have the baby, I hold him and he cries and cries and cries, and it seems like no reason. Yeah. And then he'll go to sleep, and it's 2-hour nap, for instance.
Yes.
And the older child, who's now a toddler, you don't have to hold them when they're older, apparently. At least in this philosophy, it's if they want to be held, exactly, stay present, but let it come. And I can always see it bridging when apparently the children look for excuses
exactly
to release these emotions,
which adults do too.
Yeah. That's true.
You know,
too.
when you're spoiling for a fight.
Yes.
I just want to have a fight.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. So, So when like, for example, like he got really upset about like some Band-Aid falling into his potty with poo in it, and he wanted it so bad, and I was like, yes, but we're not gonna do that. He's so upset. Right. And I found like 20 solutions. Anyways, and I was like, okay, I can tell that this just something needs to come out. And what I think is very difficult for the parent to understand, or for a person to understand, is that we'll never know where the stress originated. Right, even if it's not necessarily like, well, the door closed and it bothered me that it did. It's like, maybe it's something that happened 20 hours ago. Maybe it's something that happened during birth. Maybe it's the body stress that needs to be released, and the what happened and the why is less important than the releasing of it.
Right, you don't need to figure it out. And there's a concept that's talked about, not in co-counseling, it's a general like child psychology thing, is when they're at school all day, most children who have a really safe home life hold it together at school. They behave themselves, and they come home and they're in that safe space again. It's called restraint collapse, which I'm sure most people know about this. But anyway, I loved the word because it just like evokes that idea of like they come home and they're like, now and they do, and you're like, why are you like this? You were so good at school, and the teachers say you're a pleasure, and it's like, well, because
so that's a good thing.
It's great. It means they feel safe with you, and they just need to discharge because they've been holding it together all day. They've been following rules, right. And at home they're safe and they can, let it all loose.
Yes. So that is that. I just wanted to have, and I'm going to talk a lot more about this because I truly believe in the tears, laughter, right? I like that you mentioned laughter, and that sometimes works too. It's like you make laughter happen without distracting, which I think is different.
Right, and I will say that they frown on like tickling. I still tickle my kids, but
mind you, I don't. I've read that it's bad to tickle.
Right, because it's almost like a it doesn't feel safe necessarily.
Yes.
And if they say stop, I'll tickle my kids, but if they're like, oh, stop, it's like, of course, because it can feel scary. I remember being tickled to the point where I was like starting to like hyperventilate because it was scary.
Right.
So they say to not do that. But wrestling and snuggling and being silly is great. And get the kid laughing. It's so powerful.
Right. So this will be an ongoing topic because it's so important to me to be building spaces for these children to, I guess, maybe hopefully become people that you want to hang out with, and that you like, and that you respect, and they respect you and want.
Right.
So thank you for letting us steal your time. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I release new episodes, which may be never or maybe very soon. And subscribe to the channel. You never know when I can steal time. It's a surprise. Isn't that exciting? Exciting marketing. You'll never know.
You'll never know. A year, 10 years. What's to say?
The rant raver tip, which has become part of my stolen time, originated in our podcast. And we have today a tip.
Oh, it's a tip.
Yes,
right.
It's a tip.
We do one. I thought we were going to do
we can do
a rant and a rave and a tip, but that's too many. We'll just do a tip.
That's right. So the tip, yes, right. I forget, but okay. So the tip is, we went to karaoke last night, and a friend of mine had given me this tip, which is, you know how you start off with Mariah Carey and it's really difficult to sing? Don't
go for the banger.
Don't start with Mariah Carey. You want to start with the songs that are easiest on your throat and your, what is it? I don't know what's
vocal cords.
Vocal cords. And build up to Mariah Carey or who else? Celine Dion, probably.
Celine Dion. I mean, I hit, All I Want for Christmas Is You. My vocal cords were not ready for that, and I think we all suffered.
We all,
including the people outside of the room hearing.
It was tough.
It was a little rough.
It was a tough karaoke night.
But I really appreciated that tip. That I wish we had done that. We didn't do it.
No,
in the future.
So that is that. Thank you so much, and until next time.